All right, Julia here from Spark House. Today I have a special guest, Carla, one of our wonderful developers. We're just going to discuss Lent.
Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we discuss Lent?
Yeah, no, I mean, I do know a little bit about Lent. I grew up in a Lutheran church. Most liturgical traditions that follow the church calendar have a practice around Lent.
Yeah. What do you typically do for Lent?
Well, okay, so I have actually some fairly strong opinions about this.
Okay,
If
all
you
right.
care to hear them.
Yeah, go for it.
Like when I was growing up, people would do things like give up chocolate, or I'm giving up TV. Like at least this is what I remember from growing up. Like I'm gonna see if I can lose some weight over Lent, right? And it became far less about like a reflective practice,
Sure,
and more about kind of some personal goals.
Yes.
So the whole idea, the reason that people give things up at all is for it to be a little bit of suffering so that we enter into Christ's suffering. It's a way of being kind of putting ourselves into a period of almost mourning, if you want to think of it that way, where you kind of are giving up something that's important to you because you need to feel this pain or you need to feel this loss in your life as a way of pushing you deeper into this reflection. And so, giving up chocolate for most people doesn't really push you into a place of pain so much.
Right. Yeah.
It's more of an annoyance or
So the
whatever.
focus is supposed to be Christ's sacrifice and putting yourself in that position.
Yeah. My memory about Lent was it was always really focused on death and loss and grief and suffering, and this really kind of putting yourself intentionally into some darkness.
Yeah.
I think there's something really important about that. If our faith is always just about light and celebration and delight and joy, we don't know what to do when darkness comes, and darkness always comes. When something awful happens or we find ourselves in places of uncertainty or whatever, like our own kind of dark night of the soul, the practice of Lent actually helps us know how to do that.
Wow.
It
So
shows
it's like
us
a preparation process.
Yeah. It lets us know that grief and suffering and pain and loss are also part of what it means to be a person of faith. Wow. And that we step into that with Jesus as a way of saying, God literally we are present with God in suffering, and God is present with us in suffering. That's what that Lenten story tells us.
That's really good.
Right?
I like that perspective of Lent.
Right? And so that's why, again, like giving up chocolate isn't really putting you there. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But instead of giving something up is to take something on, like start a new practice of something that is more meditative, or try to be more intentional about our own faith formation or our prayer life during the season of Lent in order to kind of push us into a more intentional spiritual place. And so,
that's awesome. So you see Lent as something you're gaining rather than something you're losing.
I think in the long run, by losing something, you gain something, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
Because then when you get to Easter, you have a truer sense like something's changed. The grief that I just felt, or the loss that I was living in, or this kind of time of, but like just sort of this time of mourning or suffering or loss or darkness, whatever you want to call it, then Easter stands in stronger contrast to that.
Sure.
And you start to see both of those things, I think, more truly.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
Have them together.
Wow. Well, this was very enlightening for me, and I hope as well for you.
And again, I know I am really not an expert on Lent.
Well,
if you are curious and want to know more, I would say there's a ton of reading you can do on this. There's a lot of great stuff out there that can give you more about the history of Lent and how specific denominations have honored it and practiced it over the years too.
Sometimes Google is the best route.
Well, yeah. Or Bing, like if you want it to
Bing.
be equal.
Oh, no.
You can Bing it.
No. All right.